Well, hey there, guys. Well, it's time to check this manometer I made for checking the Evap systems. So today we're going to be checking out my buddy's '06 Forester. We did a repair on it maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and the code hasn't come back yet, but we still want to check it and see if it has any minor leaks to it. So I got this all set up, trying something a little bit different in here. You can see this blue in here. That is not dye in the water. Actually, what I am trying here, because I was worried about mold building up inside this thing if it was left in for any time, that is windshield washer fluid. And I checked it out. It weighs slightly less than water. So that should give you a little bit more differential. I know the stuff won't go moldy because it doesn't go moldy in your car sitting for months at a time. So give that a shot. So this is the vehicle we'll be checking out. So as soon as my buddy gets over here, we'll get in the shop and up on the lift. There's a couple solenoids in the back that have to be energized so we can close the system to test this. So show you that when we get it on the lift. Okay, we have the vehicle on the lift now, and we powered up the vent control solenoid, and that's on the charcoal canister. There's another solenoid way up top here, and let me move this around and see if you can see that sucker. That's it right there, and that should be the pressure control solenoid. So they have to both be powered on to close the system. We have that hooked up to an external 12-volt battery. So now we're just going to lower the vehicle down, and then we're going to hook up the manometer to it and check our leaks out. Okay, this is the line that goes back to the Evap system. So we're disconnecting it from the front of the engine, so we're not worried about any solenoids or anything up there. So this is the tube here we're going to feed our pressure in and look for any other leaks on this thing. So I'm going to calibrate the machine, get it hooked up, and we'll see how everything works out. Okay, I have the machine calibrated. I have my 20 thousandths test hole on it. Got the collar set there. So now we're just ready to hook it up to the car. As long as we end up between these two collars, we're well within the zone of the computer throwing the code. So let me hook this thing up and then we'll start watching it. Okay, we're hooked up to the vehicle right now, and right there, that's our 20 thousandths test hole, and we'll give it some time and see if it starts coming up, but it is hanging right at that, and we'll go let it pressurize and see how this whole thing works out. This may take a little while, so I'm going to shut the camera and I'll put it back on in a little bit. Well, we've had this hooked up for a little while now just to equalize the pressure, but right now this thing is fluctuating right at that 20 thousandths hole, and so I think we still have a leak in the system. If I shut the valve off to this, which closes the system, this will leak down. So I'll shut the valve off, and you can see the level just constantly going down. So we still have a leak in the system. It's close enough, it's not throwing the computer, but it could down the road throw the code again until we find this leak. So that's it for now. Well, we've been at it for most of the day trying to detect a second leak in this thing. We hear a spot that we can hear some leaking occurring. It's actually on top of the fuel tank itself, and that is a major thing in these Subarus, because you got to drop the rear axle to get the tank out. So we're trying to identify it, but as far as the manometer working here, it's showing here right now that collar, the top of that collar is the 20 thousandths hole. That's the one that'll set the code out. So we're a little bit above it, but we'd like to find this other leak and make that come in. You can see it is wavering, even though my shaking hands is moving, but we are above the threshold. So this thing does work, and it does show us pretty sensitive readings. And so that is the conclusion of this. We have more work to do on the vehicle, but it's time to wrap up now. Okay, so that was a day of looking for a leak. So in conclusion, this thing worked pretty good. If you notice my first test, when I hooked up the manometer, it was hanging right at the very top of the collar. And then on the last one I did, it was above, a little bit above the collar. And we had loosened the tank up a little bit so we could see the lines a little bit. Now we might have just moved the line slightly and we had a little bit better seal at the end, but obviously there's still a leak in the system. And without this machine, we couldn't have seen any of this. The code didn't come back, but it is still present in the vehicle. So we'll work on it and see if we can get the leak sealed up. But this works out very good to have this tool. And you know, the ones they have in the shops are very expensive. This was inexpensive, and it shows me a lot when we try to figure out, you know, what's going on inside these systems. So that's it. End of the day, I thought it was a great machine. So all right guys, you take care now. Bye.